Hi, today I'm going to show you how to create this Fender Stratocaster style body, complete with the comfort rest for the arm, the back, and these tight edges for the neck joint while the rest of the mesh is subdivided. So stay tuned, that's what we're going to do today. Okay, so to get started, I've gone ahead and created a plane, put a reference image on it, and named that reference image. If you don't have your Scene Explorer over here, you can access that from Tools, Scene Explorer. A few housekeeping items, I'm using generic units, and then I've got some hotkey modifiers over here that are set that I'll be referencing often, but you can obviously find those in the modifier list. Okay, so to get started, we're just going to create a line. So if I go to Add Splines and then Line, we'll make sure that both of these are set to corner, and we're just going to very roughly sketch out this body. And we're really only putting tight vertices where there are drastic changes in curvature. All right, so we want to try to do this in as few lines as possible. And when we get to the bottom, I'm not going to go all the way down. We're going to go straight across. That way we have plenty of room to add additional geometry later. And then as we go across, I'm trying to be symmetrical with the side that was in front of it. That way we can connect those later on a little bit easier and turn this into a quadified mesh. All right, so whenever I connect the endpoint with the start point, it will ask to close the spline, and sure, we'll do that. Then I'm going to throw an edit poly on, and then I need to start quadifying the mesh. So I can either select the vertices and click connect, or I can cut, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to snap to vertex, and we're just going to go through and start looking at connecting some of these vertices and making these four-sided polygons. We'll obviously do the easy ones first, worry about the more challenging ones at the end. If you want to see if you have any polygons that don't have four sides, if you click on the polygon tool and then go to selection in your ribbon and hit non-quads, it will highlight any non-four-sided polygons. These are the ones that we have to address. We can obviously come straight across like this, but in this case, I think that we should just come straight down with the rest of these. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these edges and we'll connect 7 times. And then what we could do is go back into our vertices and just cut from point to point. And then obviously we have to clean some of this up over here. So for instance, we'll move this guy over a little bit. We'll turn snaps off because that's going to mess with us. Now, if you look at the reference image, we've got this detail here for the neck joint that we need to be considerate of. So I'll do Alt-X, I'll make this transparent, and then we'll just start moving these around. So again, I'm going to align these on the Y-axis just to keep everything nice and tidy. All right, so we'll go and we'll align these on X, align these on X, align these on Y. So now everything should be perfectly aligned. And we'll go ahead and we'll put one more loop through here. That way we can constrain these edges just a little bit better. And now, because we didn't put vertices along this bottom here, we had all this open room and we can just drag these down now. So now I think we're in a situation where we can go ahead and turn off see-through mode. We're going to jump into perspective and we'll throw a shell modifier. And when you're working with a 3D modeling software, this isn't CAD, right? So dimensions and specifications aren't going to be exact. I'm going to make the body just a little bit bigger because whenever we subdivide it, it's going to collapse down on itself. So have a slightly larger body. All right, so now we can start working on, I don't know if you can really see it in this image, but there's a comfort rest that goes from about here to here, and it will kind of fold down. It's for your arm to go. All right, so we'll start working on that next. One other thing that I want to do as well, if I were to move this vertice around, you see I've still got the back side of that vertice that's showing through. If we go to Object Properties and turn off Back Face Cull, that will hide that. That way we're only working with the side of the object that we're looking at. All right, so I'm going to draw a line probably from here straight to here, just to avoid any additional complications with cuts and vertices just going through the middle of stuff. All right, so that leaves us with an issue or two. What we'll do is we will try to match this line as much as possible. So I'll go to Target Weld and we're going to just attach those to the line. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is create a plane, and this is going to be a reference object for us. So I'll just do a plane like so. What I'm going to do is try to rotate it to where it matches that line that we just created. All right, go back into perspective mode, and we're going to start moving this into position. So I'll need to rotate this. Now, since I've already rotated it on the x-axis, I really don't have a way to rotate it unless it's on the local axis. So you need to change this to local. And then if you grab a handle, then you should be able to move it along whichever one is highlighted yellow. All right, we'll start moving this into position. Okay. So at this point, all I have to do is grab these vertices and start moving them into the plane. And now I can delete that, and then we'll use some crease sets here later on. All right, so for the back side of the body is a little more challenging because for one, we don't have the reference image, and two, there's a contour that kind of goes quite a bit larger than the first one. So first thing we'll do is we'll cut. So just Alt-C, and we're going to cut from here all the way over to here. And we just kind of need to use existing points if we can. And then we can target weld these other vertices. So from here to here, from here to here. That looks fine. All right, so for this guy, we're going to draw another plane. Just going to do this in the top viewport. Only this one's going to have a bunch of length segments. We'll give it like 32. And what we're going to do is we're going to bend this. So go ahead and throw a bend modifier. Change this to Y. And whenever we start moving this, it's going the wrong direction, right? So what we need to do is change it to 90 degrees. And then we should be able to move it up and down. All right, so we're going to eyeball this for the most part. We'll start moving this forward. Okay, so this is fairly close. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select my body again, and we're going to start moving these straight up on the Z-axis. Okay, so now I can delete this guy, and we're left with that detail there. All right, so now we can start working on the neck joint. And remember we had 4 polygons up here that we need to adjust, and we can use 3ds Max's Smart Extrude for this. So if we just hold Shift, we can pull down about there. Okay, that looks fairly good. And we can also go ahead and start putting in our edge loops. So right now, if I were to throw a turbo smooth on this, you can see how it's collapsing in on itself. And these just don't look very good, right? So the idea is to throw some additional loops in. You can see now it's not falling in as much, and it actually looks more like the shape of a guitar. All right, so I did that with Swift loops. So if you click on Swift loop right up here, it will make us a loop across any flowing edges. But since we made this detail here, it doesn't know how to connect this because we now have, if you look, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-sided polygon. So we're going to have to do some manual cuts to put the pieces back together. So we'll cut that one to there, and then we'll cut that one to there. And then for this, we're just going to eyeball all the way around. Now, if we were to do another sweep, then it should go all the way through. All right, so one thing, this is a very ugly color, so I'm going to change it to gray. All right, so now what we can start doing is specifying our creases. Like I said, if we throw Turbo Smooth on here now, it just looks kind of like that and things just fall in on themselves. So I'm going to delete Turbo Smooth. I'm going to do a crease set modifier. And then I'm going to start selecting the edges that we want to keep sharp. So we'll select all of these outer edges. I also want to turn on ignore back facing. Now real quick, if you look at the reference image, most of these are kind of contoured or rounded or chamfered on the outside. We're going to be respectful of that as well. So we're not going to select these edges right here. And then we want to make sure there's no pinching. So we're also going to grab a couple of these inside edges as well. All right, so instead of doing Turbo Smooth, I'm going to use Open Subdiv, which works just a little bit better with crease set. So right now you can see there's not much of a change, but as we increase the iterations, you can see that we're now starting to get some better results, but not quite where we want to be. And the reason is because we haven't actually specified the creaseness level, right? So I want to create set, and then we're going to rename this to neck joint. And then I'll go ahead and turn on show end result here. And then as we start to harden this, you'll see that it hardens those edges. Just take a look and make sure everything looks good. And yep, it does. All right, so real quick, we just turn off edge faces. We can get a better look at what this looks like. All right, so the neck joint looks really good. Can't really tell much of a contour with the comfort pieces. So we can also spend a little bit of time doing the same process for those, right? So I'm going to start here and just find my way across. And I'm going to create a new crease set, and I'll rename this one to C arm for comfort arm. And I'll give this a value of 0.25. We don't need to be quite as sharp as the other one. If we look at this, then we can see that that is now a little bit sharper. We'll do the same thing on the back side for the back contour. All right, so we'll do the same thing. We're going to create a set. We'll call this, let's see, back for comfort back, and we'll give this also a 0.25. All right, so now whenever we turn on our subdivide, we get this sort of detail here. Now we're also hitting something happening over here, and I'm not sure what that is. Let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so in this case, I'm not real sure what's causing the pinching, but what we can do maybe is unselect that one, right click, update. Yeah, it seemed to have fixed that one. Let's go and try that over here as well. Okay. Go ahead and turn off our edges, and this is what we're left with. So you can obviously modify this to have harder edges at the top or at the bottom. But for the most part, this is the detail that we would be looking for a Fender Strat style body. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Thank you. Hi, today I'm going to show you how to create this Fender Stratocaster style body, complete with the comfort rest for the arm, the back, and these tight edges for the neck joint while the rest of the mesh is subdivided. So stay tuned, that's what we're going to do today.